Hi. So yeah, I don't know. Like the moment that Jimmy comes on, it just gets fucking fried. So we'll try it. We'll try it again in a bit. Um, so yeah, take two. Anyway, we recorded wrote the record in a basement in Oxford, and then in 2000, between 2008 2009. So like after Antidote's tour, we started writing, and then we went to Sweden, to Gothenburg, to a studio called Spencer Gramophone, and this guy called Luke Smith produced it. We were there for about 11 weeks, and we lived in the studio there as well, and that was full on. There was, there was just no sunlight, and we lived in these little cabins upstairs above the studio. And we ate a lot of pad thai. I think there was a period where I didn't leave the studio towards the end for maybe like verging on 2 weeks, and Jack was having to bring me pad thai, and it all went a bit crazy. So yeah, the whole record was quite intense. And like I said, if anyone missed it, you can watch like the making of on our YouTube channel. It went up yesterday. So yeah, let me know where everyone's tuning in from. And I've got like some questions that you guys have sent. So Liz from Twitter asked, like, where did we shoot the album cover? We shot it in Basildon in Essex. And it was meant to be just like a promo shoot with Steve Gullick. And Tinhead was meant to do the album artwork. We had an idea of having like kind of two twins on the cover. But that didn't work out, so the photo that became the cover was intended to be a promo shot, but we just loved it so much, and it just seemed to kind of fit the mood of the record, which had this kind of aquatic ambience to it, and it felt blue to us, and so that's where we did the album artwork. Richie from Twitter asked if the recording the album in Gothenburg in the middle of winter set you up nicely for quarantine life. I think it did. Like I said, we went pretty fucking cabin fever. I guess which song off that record is still our favourite to play live? It's probably got to be Spanish Sahara. It's just never got tired. And every night it's just a kind of magical experience playing that. We've started playing Black Gold quite a bit again, and that one's is sweet. Yeah, Boris is a twat. All right, cool. So I think we should start listening. I'll stop it in between songs. Occasionally we can just chat a little bit. I'll try and get Jimmy back on, but I don't know if that's going to work. All right, so album opener is... What is it again? Oh, yeah, it's Blue Blood, isn't it? All right. Cheers, everybody. So this intro was recorded just live. We were all in the room, and the vocals were sung through a PA, which is why it has that lovely, like, wide reverb. It was just a live take. And let me know if you can't hear it or if it's too quiet or anything. Sipping on a little Adnams Ghost Ship there. We liked the idea of having an intro that had this like spacious opening to it after how frenetic Antidotes was and how compact it was. We wanted a kind of more emotional core to this record. And that bass line was played by the one and only Mr. Walter Jervis, sadly departed, not from the world, just from our lives. Can't believe 10 years has passed. And like send in your memories of listening to this record from the first time and stuff, so we can see where you first heard it or any good times you had with it. This record, this song, I mean, like, it started off as a loop, we jammed it out a lot, changed a lot, did a recording of it with Paul Epworth, and then we took it to Sweden and it was pretty faithful. We didn't change it that much once we were in Sweden with Luke. It's a little bit of drum machine, there's some nice Cabasa touches, added a little bit of ambience at the end with Mike Crossy just before we mixed it in this section. Used like a kind of infinite reverb thing. It pops. Pidge will come and say hi in a bit. These are the original lyrics. Album sequencing written on a napkin. So yeah, when this record came out, probably on the day of release, so 10 years ago, we played at I think the Electric Ballroom in Camden. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but did a launch show there. Morrissey came down and then like left after 4 songs or something, which apparently he's prone to do. I'd given an interview in The Guardian where like I'd really like opened up probably a bit too much about like my family background, and apparently he liked this idea of I don't know, like the tortured artist or something, or maybe he just liked the band. But anyway, yeah, he came, and I remember that show was a pretty great show. Blenhaven was there. Yeah, it was a great show just to play these songs for the first time. So the next song is Miami, which was like, we were pretty obsessed with this band called Studio, who are also actually from Gothenburg, coincidentally. And this was like that record of theirs called West Side. We just played it over and over in the house when we were living together. We'd be cooking dinner, pretty basic dinners, but we'd listen to that. And Miami had a kind of influence from them. So this is Miami. Chunky. Luke Smith did a lot of processing on this. Quite a lot of acoustic guitar on Total Life Forever. A lot of like the guitar textures are backed up with acoustics. There's quite a lot of acoustic on this. And the bass, me and Wally sung along with the actual bass notes. So the bass sound is a bass guitar, a bass synth, and then both of us going boom, 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 along with it, which is why it's got a bit of a... The other thing with this song was, lyrically, it was sort of influenced by Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which was playing on loop. spicy. Can everyone hear it all right? We definitely wanted to have a kind of hip hop swagger on this one. Wally sings the BBs. This was always my favourite bit, this drop. I found some old journals from the time and I'll be like, so this was a tracking list. I can't remember what all the code is, but this was when we were sorting the song out. And actually, Inhaler came out of a live jam out of this. So when we would play this live on tour, Inhaler got jammed out of it. Kim and Courtney do Miami. That was the inspiration. Like Heartbreak in Miami. Or double chorus. Could have probably edited that. Cool, so that's Miami. I'm trying to think of any other info about that one, but yeah, other than the Kim and Courtney stuff, yeah, that was just the memory of the studio. It was like that was on TV. Edwin was playing Call of Duty, I think, pretty relentlessly. So you would finish the day at the studio, go upstairs, and there would just be either the sound of the Kardashians blaring through the TV or like machine gun fire from these computer games. It was pretty fucking intense. So yeah, that was one of the last songs to be written for this record. And then next up's Total Life Forever title track. So came from some sort of loops, and I became pretty obsessed with that phrase, Total Life Forever. I'd been writing it on the walls in the house, and I'd been reading a book by Raymond Kurzweil called The Singularity is Near, and a lot of that is about man becoming immortal through synthesis with technology. So that was like the sort of backdrop of the record, was like robots, futurism, immortality, and yeah, this song just had that. It has the line about singularity, called Total Life Forever, and this is a vibe, this one. So we sort of tried to up the funk a bit on this record in a way. I think that might be one of the first times I ever wrote the phrase in my journal. We did some quite cool stuff with this one in the studio. There's lots of percussion, bottles. We'd been listening to Off the Wall by Michael Jackson's demos, like the pre-recorded version of the album, and they use loads of bottles and bits of glass for percussion. So there's lots of that going on. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, and we all sang in the breakdown of this song all together on the stairs of the studio. You can find all the loops of these tracks, I think, on the deluxe edition. There's probably knocking around on YouTube or on Spotify if you want to hear like how the songs evolve, or I'll play them at the next demo party. So this is actually everyone in the band singing on the stairs in the studio. We were stamping our feet at the same time. We'd gotten into these recordings by Alan Lomax that are just voice and beat, like some type of pulse. And this is all of us. So the idea with this song was about trying to find your loved one on Rhode Island and escaping the robots. The scribblings of a madman. Cool, so that's Total Life. Yeah, good foot stomps. So Jimmy was meant to be on this with me, but I think if anybody gets on, it just craps out. So I don't want to have to keep like restarting the feed. But yeah, that was a jam. Obviously, we played that live for quite a long time. We changed it. We put in a new like a bigger breakdown and stuff. So next up is like one of my favourite tracks. I think one of everybody in the band's favourite tracks we've ever written, called Black Gold. Yeah, I don't know really where to start with it. It was written in the basement. Again, I think you can see us playing it on that Dave Marr doc, like the very first few times we played it. I think the first time Jack got chastised for his backing vocals and Total Life Forever, as well as he made everybody pasta one day, and I think the producer took umbrage at the use of mortadella and dissed Beaker's culinary skills. Yeah, Black Gold, the first time we played it, Jack had a drum loop off Logic, and then Jimmy had written the verse groove, and then we just jammed the end bit. And I remember like we'd had this pretty dank like winter in Oxford, and we'd been in that basement, and there's quite a lot of pot smoking going on. I think I was feeling quite introverted. I remember that lyric, and now that spring is finally here, just like spring was coming in, and we were getting ready to go to Sweden in the summer to make the record, and it was just like one of those turning points. So without more blabber, I'll play it. I'm gonna get myself another fucking beer. I haven't had dinner yet. I need to go have dinner soon. So yeah, Spanish Horror. We wrote it again in the basement, and it was a chord sequence that Jimmy had lying around for a little while before, and I asked him to put it into a loop pedal, and then I sang. I got the vocal lines. I sang them on a pair of headphones into a loop pedal, and it just sort of clicked. And then because Jack couldn't play drums, Jimmy recorded his guitar in Total Darkness, and the wave sound at the beginning is actually the silence of the room in between the chords compressed so loud that you can hear it as a wave. when I did the vocal takes, I was watching Scatzi, which is like this amazing movie of just footage of the world on loop. And yeah, what else? I think we kept this one really delicate, partly because we couldn't get a full drum kit really to play in the basement, so this one kind of remained delicate for longer. And it was probably the most restrained we'd been up until then, you know? Like, there's nothing this restrained with Antidotes. We actually recorded this before we went to Sweden as well. I think I've got the first time I wrote the lyrics down here as well. Edwin's keyboard part was done through kind of like we had basically an old Boss DD3 delay pedal where if you keep hitting it on loop setting, you can create clusters of notes, and his whole synth part is that was based on that. And I think without that, the song wouldn't be as good. Definitely, it's like a brilliant touch. We shot the video for this with Dave Marr, who's just banging on about Scatzi and how amazing that movie is, which is an amazing movie. It's a great stoner movie. We went and shot it up north of Inverness in Scotland, and it was, I keep telling people it was -11. I'm not sure if it was, but it was fucking cold. I had to wear long johns. First and only time in my life I'm going to wear long johns. And I was dragging, we had 2 carcasses, and Dave was making me drag them up mountainsides, and we were in such a barren landscape, as you can see in the video, that there was like birds of prey circling, thinking they were going to get a meal either out of that or out of me. But we survived. Yeah, the guitar solo that's coming up wasn't so much of a solo at the beginning, it was more just a part. And I remember recording it as a solo and then not being sure about the harmonised bit, and Jack was like, no, you've got to leave that in, it's too good to take out. But I always felt I was like a bit on the fence about it for a while. I think without fail, like, this song is, when we play this live, it's the one that, like, you know, we just get goosebumps every night from it. It's always, you just feel the connection with all you guys when we play that. Takes you to a place. These guitars at the end are put through an ARP 2600, which is the coolest synth of all time. It looks like Darth Vader. Cool, so that's Sahara. That's pretty fucking awesome to be able to listen to that on its 10th anniversary with all you guys live, despite all the madness. Like, that's one great thing, I guess, about quarantine, is like the way that we're connecting now is different. I don't think we would have had the chance to do that probably because we would have been on tour or something. But yeah, that song, it's just a special one for us, I think. So next one's This Orient, which was a single. We did some bonkers stuff in the studio with like a thing called a human synthesizer, where you can see footage of it online, but like we put a bunch of notes down on a piece of paper, and 4 or 5 of us were singing random notes that Jimmy was choosing, and that's where the Steve Reich type pattern comes out at the beginning. So this is This Orient. Oh no, this is This Orient. Okay. Kind of a bitch to play live, to be honest. Like, we never really got it. It's sort of out of my range vocally. Live it's a nightmare. Like the song more, like hearing it back now, but we definitely went off it for a bit. But it does have a vibe to it. Steve Reich bubblegum minimal pop. This song was like a struggle in the studio. I remember we went round and round with it. We tried to write new sections for it while we were recording it. And like I said, it was difficult to sing and all sorts. This was probably the hardest song on the record to crack. It's alright though. I think this is Jack's favourite song of ours of all time, maybe, because I found this is the first time I wrote the Black Gold lyrics. I don't know if I already showed that or not. Christmas synths. I think there's like not a key changer, there's quite a big chord change at the end that's cool. Pigeon's just here listening to everything, by the way. I'll get her to say hi. I think she's having a snooze. I think this record's making her snooze. I know the writing's backwards, there's nothing I can do about that. I like this outro bit's great. I like it how it gets melancholic at the end. I'm going through my journals like here trying to find bits, and I just realised how crazy I was back then, and probably am still. Most of it's just not for public consumption. Oh yeah, we had a. Was it on this track that you had to fight with? The recording process for this record was quite intense. Like we did start to fight with Luke Smith a little bit towards the end. I think he did a great job. I think the record sounds awesome, and it wouldn't be this good if it wasn't for him by any means. But it did get pretty intense, and at one point, I was playing the guitar loop and I didn't have it standardised, and I kept changing it. And down the cans, I just heard from the control room, "Just fucking play it straight, all right?" It was probably pretty full on. And he also swore at Beaker about the drums a couple of times and stuff. I think what didn't help was that they were living in a hotel in the centre of town, so the producer and engineer could leave the studio every day. And we thought they were going to some super cushy hotel, while we remained in these little cabin rooms upstairs with no sunlight. And that wasn't good for morale, this feeling that they were going to go have like room service and a hot towel shave while we were slugging it out, and it just sort of got a bit edgy towards the end. And when we came back from Sweden, we actually had to keep finishing stuff while Mulder was mixing back in Assault and Battery, which is where we ended up doing Holy Fire. So next track is Fugue, which is just the interlude that Jimmy was playing piano, and then Luke Smith ran it through a bunch of modular units. And modular processing was quite new there for all the nerds out there. It wasn't like there weren't that many modular units going around. It seemed like pretty cool and ahead of its time. So that's what this sounded like. And apparently Kendrick Lamar has sampled this on a track. I don't know which one it is. Right, anyone that knows which Kendrick track it is, just write in the comments. And keep sending me any questions if you've got any. This is nice. Good way to spend a Sunday evening. Yeah, if anyone knows which Kendrick track it is, let me know. And this added to this whole aqueous, aquatic water feel that we wanted. I do not just because the artwork, but the record just feels blue, and I think it would have felt wrong if it had any type of artwork that wasn't that. Yeah, it's a track on Damn, that's right. I can't remember which track on Damn it is, but okay. So next we're going to go into Afterglow, which is one of our favourite songs. Afterglow changed a lot. For anyone that tuned into the demo party last week, I played an early version of it that we recorded with Jackknife Lee, and you can see how much it changed from there. So this whole front section of the song was written afterwards. It used to just be a straight out disco jam, and then we wrote all this stuff because I was feeling a little tender. It's proper sad boy back then. He's still in there somewhere. Yeah, this is one of our favourites, I think. Yeah, there's lots of gated reverb. I've seen a couple of people asking about the gated reverb. That was just a Boss reverb pedal on the gated setting. But the stereo delay on the guitar is done through a modular. We should start playing this again live. Love this chorus. Alan Mulder added all the delay on the vocal in mixing. It wasn't there before, and when he did that, it was like, that is genius. Like our idea of a disco track. I think we'd started listening to Love Will Come Around by Donald Byrd around then, and some quite classic disco, a lot of Chic, and it was our kind of dark take on a classic disco track. We'll try and get it on the set again, I think. Yeah, maybe we'll play at Glasgow sometime. I did not wish my mum Happy Mother's Day today because it's not Mother's Day in the UK. For some reason we got a different one. British exceptionalism. Also, I'd like to clarify a much misconstrued lyric. So the last lyric of this before the breakdown, it isn't the dark, it's the dogs. One of the best drum moments in our entire catalogue. We're off, we're cruising. The first time we played this was at a festival called Palio in Switzerland. It was probably one of the worst live performances of any track we've ever done. It absolutely sucked for some reason, I can't remember why. I think it might have been the croaker. It's so layered up in this disco section as well, there's so much stuff going on. Wally's doing the BBs, me and Wall maybe, or just Wall. Definitely should start playing this live again. We should write a few more disco jams like this. Am I the only one that's just perpetually doing the pigeon head nod? Wally lives in somewhere in Europe now. Oh yeah, it's screeching things on the guitar. Bop. It's quite like, get your castanets out. Andrew Mears on castanets. Wish we'd made a video for this one. You know what? Really wish we'd made a video for Black Gold. That would have been... There was always something a bit like cheeky and Copacabana about that guitar line there for some reason. Debatable decision going back into a chorus at the end of that, but where's everyone tuning in from anyway? So next song is Alabaster, which changed a lot. Like there's all sorts of different versions of it. I don't know if we made it better by changing it so much, but it's definitely one that we just jiggled around with. And actually we let Luke have quite a lot of free reign on this and the production. I think we even were sent away for a day to go and hang out in Gothenburg and do whatever people do in Gothenburg, which I think seems mainly to be eat pasta and drink. And when we came back, he'd done some pretty amazing drum processing on Alabaster. It's got some of my favourite lyrics. My dad's trying to video call me. Like, does he not know it's the 10th anniversary of Top Life Forever? So he's not going to stop as well until I answer. Religious regret and infinite debt. I like that couplet. So this is Alabaster. Think some members of the band, maybe including me, think that we should have probably put Wear and Tear on, for anyone that knows that instead. Anyway, here's Alabaster. Some cool sounds on this one, definitely. It's kind of a Kate Bush. I think we were kind of... I guess this and Give It All, in a way, like, both are indebted to Kate Bush. We love Kate Bush, and just had that type of vibe to it. Yeah, Wear and Tear was really close to being on Total Life Forever. It was finished in Sweden, but it just... I think people were telling us that the record was too long and that it didn't flow or something, so we didn't put it on. But yeah, Wear and Tear, Oh Funk. There was a track called Bacon and Eggs. There was a track called Death Surf, and all of those ones didn't make it. And Milk of 1,000 Cows, which I will tell the story about another time, I think. But yeah, this is a tune. The drum sound on this is badass. Forked Road was recorded later on. It's one of the first times I'd ever sung falsetto was this song. I remember doing the original loop for it, and I'd been listening to a lot of Arthur Russell, and I was like, I'm going to try and sing falsetto, because obviously on Antidotes I wasn't really singing that much of that at all, of that style. It was all quite barked and stuff. So this is probably the first time I discovered that I had a falsetto voice. Love this drum bit. We had some pretty mental times in the studio. There was a guy called Andreas Clearup, who is a producer, who rocked up to the studio and took on a different room there, and we had some pretty mental nights with him. I think he came in and nicked a bottle of Macallan's whiskey out of my room. On the first day that he arrived there, we didn't know who he was, and my bottle of Macallan's went missing, and I was like, what's happened to my bottle of Macallan's? And turned out he had taken it, drunk it, and then about 4 weeks later replaced it with a bottle of Martini Rosso. For anyone who drinks knows that that's not a fair shout. He also kept trying to take Jimmy away to write songs for Sophie Ellis-Bextor. So we wouldn't find Jimmy for half a morning, and it turns out that Clearup had taken him to his studio, and Sophie Ellis-Bextor was there, and they were trying to make Jimmy write for them, which obviously Jimmy knew better than to do, because why would you want to write for anyone other than this? Cool. So that's Alabaster. We got what, 2 more? Okay, next up is Two Trees, which is a song that Jimmy almost wrote all the music for, I think, and it was pretty fully formed. And when we went in there, the only thing that we really messed around with much was the vocals. The vocal line was written in the studio, and I had this idea about making it an instruction for life, giving blood away, and just trying to kind of live a better life. I like the idea of having lyrics that were almost advice to myself, but also to people that were going to listen, like you guys. It's one of my favourite tracks on this record. I feel like maybe it could have been the closer, actually, because the ending's so awesome. And Jimmy kept talking about wanting it to sound like Chernobyl, I think it might have even been called Chernobyl in its early form, and like the idea was at the end that all the machines and the robots that populate the album, earlier and earlier songs, kind of start to melt and decay, and it's like the song just breaks apart, and all of the all of mankind's technological power melts away and goes into the sea. So that's for you guys to know. But yeah, this has got a good vibe to it. Nice and chilled. It's always quite strange when a song is more led by Jimmy musically. I have to feel like I always want to make sure that with the lyrics that I'm respecting his intention, you know. So I'm always quite like, I check in with him. I'm like, is this the right vibe for the song? But I think this one was a perfect match. Oh, and I found actually, where's that gone? I think I took the lyrics from that. I think I just wrote that as a random doodle, like scribble kind of thing, and then often I'll go back over my journals to find inspiration for lyrics in like flippant things. And we never played this that much live at shows. We did a few acoustic versions of it for radio sessions that you can find. This is one of my favourite guitar lines. I think I've written. Really wanted it to sound like a TV on the radio guitar part. I kept saying to Mulder, put it through more tape loop to try and get the sound. It's also, I managed to get the word acquiesce into the song. But I love this idea of it being like advice for life. I think we've got quite a few songs like that where it's like meant to be instructional. You guys are dissing me for the acquiesce line. I think, it's important to say about this record is what we wanted to do was make a record that was emotional. We wanted to really touch people with it in a way that we felt that Antidotes was for the dance floor, but it wasn't as emotional to listen. And this is where the machines start to crumble into the sea. I think we should have maybe put What Remains before this and closed the album with this, but now with streaming you can do whatever you want. I don't know what you're saying. What does Jimmy say at the end? I'm not sure what he says at the end. I sing Just breathe slow, and then we're in this bit, and I don't think anything. I don't know if anyone says anything. So all this stuff is just like modular synths going mad. Like I said earlier, it was all about Chernobyl, or like the idea of Chernobyl. Yeah, I didn't hear anyone say anything, and I was there when it was recorded. I don't remember that. But maybe Jimmy will pipe up if he's still online. Jack had to go do like a pub quiz, like a virtual pub quiz. So he's not online anymore. But we've only got one song left. So this is What Remains. This is one of my favourites, and it's pretty faithful to the original loop. I had a loop of it called Remains, and I had the lyrics like fully formed at the beginning. We jammed it out a bit. The main thing to change a lot was the drum beat, and I think kind of like Jack and Luke were disagreeing about the drum beat quite a lot. I remember that was quite a contentious part of it, which is why you can sort of hear the drums like get pretty bonkers at the end. But yeah, the vibe of the song is definitely one of our favourites. I think we did put it at the end because of like the lyrical content. Neptune. I can't play Neptune because it's on Everything Not Saved Will Be Lost, and also it's past everyone's bedtime. Cool. So I'm gonna play What Remains. I'll try and answer a few more questions, and then we'll do like the demo night and stuff. We'll do it depending. It looks like lockdown in the UK is going to go on for quite a while, thanks to Boris and his chums. So anyway, here's What Remains. This is one of my, maybe it says, Jimmy's saying maybe it says Satan is Lord at the end of Two Trees. What Remains, one of my, I remember getting pretty emotional during the vocal take of this. And I think maybe you can hear it on it. Lots of gated reverb on this one as well. Oh, I've got the, We played this live for a bit. The whole time we toured Talk Life Forever, we were playing it. It feels a little bit like bedtime, doesn't it? Jack and Ori. I do agree with the lockdown. I just don't think that it's been done very well by the Tories. It means a lot to like read the comments and see how much this record means to all of you, and that the times that it got you through or that it kept you company on. It's fucking awesome. There's no better compliment in making music than hearing it soundtrack people's life. Opal Morning Light, it's just an image I thought of. But it was quite a dark time when we wrote the record. I think you can tell it's quite a melancholic record, and this was like one of those releases. Lots of acoustic guitar on this one again, and then we added a bunch of like the more gnarly synths when we got back to London when we were mixing, because it still felt a bit unfinished. Yeah, I always thought this had a Kate Bush vibe to it as well, but maybe that's just in my own mind. Yes, Disclosure Boys, miss you too. weirdly, like we kind of thought the record would be like a surf rock record at the beginning, but it turned out not to be anything like that, which shows you can't try and pre-plan your records too much. Really love this build-up. Is it weird if I'm saying which bits I love? I hope it doesn't sound like that. I do just love it. That's it. So that's the end of the record. The only other song that was finished from that was was Wear and Tear, which I might just put on now while I just answer a few final questions. But yeah, I hope everybody's staying safe and looking after themselves in this mad time. I actually got a text from the NHS of the UK saying I was on a vulnerable people's list, so that was a bit freaky yesterday. I've got to maybe try and be even more careful than I'm trying to be already, but I'm not sure what that's to do with either asthma or smoking. When are the good tracks going to start, says Dave Marr? Well, don't know, mate. When are the good videos going to get made? So yeah, Death Surf wasn't finished, and also I don't seem to have a copy of it, but this is Wear and Tear. This is one of our favourite songs. I know for sure Edwin loves this song. He really wishes it was on the record. It's interesting to be going back over some of this old stuff, because I guess we're having to think about what we're going to do next, and it's don't normally go back and listen to records, but we did the Holy Fire party the other night. We did a demo night. We'll do another demo night. Listen to this. We made a lot of music, and it's we need to think about where to go in the future. So I'll just leave that there as a pregnant pause. The years have not been kind. Yeah, we can do more of these. We did the Holy Fire one on Twitter with Tim Burgess. But yeah, if you guys enjoy them, then just let us know, and we can do one of these. We do another demo party, and just keep doing some bits. And it's nice to connect with you all, and yeah, just be reminded that we have a connection, get to listen to some great tunes together. Yeah, we did an Antidotes one already, right? Yeah, that's right, I forgot about that. That was fun. Yeah, so maybe we should do a What Went Down one or whatever. But yeah, this has been great to listen to everything with you all, and it's kind of intense to go back and think about that time when we made that record. I watched the Dave Marr movie today, and I'd not seen it for a long time, and it was just we've spent our lives with each other, and we've spent our lives doing this. It's pretty awesome. And also, I can't believe how festy it was back in that house. It was infested with carpet beetles. The kitchen was unusable. But it was some of the best times we've ever had. I think it's interesting, like, you know, I was smoking, one other observation about this record was the difference between the amount of weed I was smoking back then to after this. I kind of laid off it a bit, and I think it changed. It kind of made us write some more direct songs in a way. Like, I don't think we would have written a song like Inhaler or even My Number or something like that in the Total Life Forever era, partly because it was all just so like mellow and introverted. So yeah, it's interesting to think about how like a habit with something can affect what you write, but all of it still feels like us, you know. It still feels like Foals. And anyway, that track should have probably gone on the record. Alright, so I'm going to go have some dinner, because I haven't had any dinner yet and I've had a couple of beers. But did everyone see Pidge? I think, well, it's just gone now anyway. I hope everyone saw Pidge. Thanks so much for tuning in. Love you, stay safe. Respect all the people working on the front line on the NHS. Sorry I couldn't get Jimmy on because it just seems to crap out if we have more than two of us. Jim, sorry for making you get up early. Lots of love. Total Life Forever. Foals forever.